The first thing that I really want to know, because like I said, you are the only Kenyan officer I want to know. Have you ever shot someone? So I need to know, is it a crime to insult a police officer or say a curse word at a police officer?
I mean, dude, I get called names all the time. So, I mean, people in this country, people have freedom of speech. You can call an officer names, but it depends. I mean, for me, dude, you can call me names until tomorrow. I don't care.
Have you arrested someone?
Arresting pretty much every other day.
Every other day?
Yeah.
Wow.
I work for a big city, so there's crimes pretty much every day. So I'm arresting people pretty much every other day.
Wow. Hello friends, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Eric Magwaro, and if it's your first time, please consider subscribing so that whenever we upload any video, you can be among the first people to watch it. So I have a guest here today. I'm going to introduce him, but before that, he is the only Kenyan officer that I know. So I have a lot of questions for him. So I'm going to give him this chance to introduce himself, and then we can pick it up from there.
Yeah, my name's Davens Okemwa. Pretty much most people know me as Okemwa because that's my dad's name. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for accepting to do this, my brother. And just like I said, I have a lot of questions that I want to know because I've seen a lot of police officers here, but you are the only Kenyan officer that I have seen. So maybe before we get into that, can you tell us the story of how you came to the US?
So I moved to this country in 2013. Yeah, after high school, you know, I hustled in Kenya for a little bit. Then I did a green card application. I got selected, and that's how I got myself here.
The first thing that I really want to know, because like I said, you are the only Kenyan officer I want to know. Have you ever shot someone?
That's very private information that I cannot share, sadly. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But okay, you know, the first thing actually that I want to know is why you wanted to become a police officer. Because you know, if I speak for myself, there's a lot of shootings here in the US, and police officer, according to me, the most dangerous jobs. So is it something that you wanted to be from growing up, or?
So I come from a family of 3 police officers. My big brother was a police officer. My big sister was a police officer. And you know, me growing up in the village, I didn't have like big dreams. I just wanted to be either a police officer or like join the army, and that's what has always been driving me. So when I came to before I actually moved to this country, I tried getting into the police force back home, but I didn't get a chance. You know, you do understand it's so corrupt to get into the police force, so I didn't get a chance to get to the police force. But once I moved to this country, you know, that's when my dream came true. Yeah.
For any Kenyan that wants to be a police officer, is it that easy for them to be a police officer here in the US?
You know, unlike back home, here in the US, if you need to become a police officer, you have to go to college, get a college degree, and then there's some more other stuff that you need to do on top of your college degree to become a police officer. So
to become a police officer in the US, you must have a college degree?
Yes, you need a minimum of a 2-year college degree. Then there's something that is called the skills program. Then after that, you have to take another board exam that is called post exam. Then after that, then you can start applying for police agencies out here.
So if someone wants to become a police officer, from the moment that you start applications or going to, like, let's say the police academy, how long does it take until you become a police officer?
So every agency is different. After you are done with skills and you pass your post exam, like I told you, you start applying for agencies out there. So every department is different. So with the agents that I work for, once you get selected through the selection process, you have to go through the academy. Academy is training how to become a police officer. That takes around 16 weeks. After you graduate from the academy, you go to the next step. It's called field training officer. This is where you get to work with an officer in the street, and they teach you how policing is done. And that takes up around 4 more months. Then after that, you are on your own.
So you have mentioned that one of the requirements for you to be a police officer is a college degree. People who have served in the army, and then maybe when they come back, they also want to join the police force. Do they also need a college degree, or for those who served in the army, like a straight line for them to join the police force?
So, like I told you, every agency is different. For the agency that I work for, if you are in the military, that's like an added advantage. But on top of being in the military, you'll need a college degree. It doesn't have to be a law enforcement degree. It can be any other field as long as it's a college degree. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for that information. And one other thing that I've always wanted to know is there's a lot of law enforcement agencies. So sometimes it's confusing for someone who has not understood what they are, because there's a police officer, I've seen sheriffs around, I've seen deputies around, I've seen troopers around. Do you mind telling us the difference, distinctions of each law enforcement?
Sure. So, like you mentioned, there's so many agencies. We can start from my case. I'm a police officer, so my jurisdiction is within a city. So I take calls within that particular city. Then there's a sheriff's department. So the sheriff is in charge of the whole county. Let's say, like right now we're in Anoka County. So Anoka County Sheriff's Office takes calls within Anoka County. But then the difference comes. There's a confusion when there's some police agencies are within a county. So that's where every agency subdivides what calls they go to. So you find that if there's a police department within the county, they'll be in charge of, let's say, domestic calls. Then the other agency will be in charge of doing traffic stops, responding to traffic accidents. And every agency responds to its own calls. But then there's the state troopers, who mostly you see on the highway, right? So the work of the state troopers mostly is they control traffic. Yeah, so they work all over the city,
within the state,
with all over the state, but they normally have like a small jurisdiction. So let's say there's a state trooper that is assigned to this area of Anoka and Andover area, and they respond to if there's a crash, if there's accidents. They respond. But then the other thing with being a state trooper, they are all over the state, like I told you. So they can respond to any other calls, but mostly their job is within, like, mostly roads. If you get into a traffic accident, and they have also come out during riots, they can help out with crowd control, plus more other things. Yeah.
So one thing that I've heard before, I'm not sure if it's true, I want you to confirm, that if, let's say, a police officer in, let's say, what county is this, you said?
This is Anoka County.
Anoka County. So let's say a police officer in Anoka County is trying to stop someone who is traveling from this county to a different county. Once they cross over to the other county, if they don't have jurisdiction there, can they still give you a ticket?
So from what I know, as long as you are a police officer in the state of Minnesota, you can pull over someone anywhere within the state if you feel like they are committing a crime.
Is that not for state troopers or even a police officer, whatever? Because you didn't mention that police officers have jurisdictions.
Yeah. So let's say I'm just driving from my city and I'm going to the next city and I see a crime being committed. it's my right. Like I have the powers to still, act. I can't see someone committing a crime and just
You can let them go.
I can't just let them go. Yeah.
Or maybe you call someone, a police officer of that who has jurisdiction in that county.
Yeah, let's say I'm in a different city, and I see someone speeding, I can initiate the traffic stop. Then I can call for someone within that city, an officer within that city, to take over the traffic stop.
Okay. So thank you so much for that information. So I forgot about a federal officer. Federal officers have jurisdiction now within
The whole nation.
the whole nation. So basically, we've said there's a police officer who has jurisdiction within a city, and then sheriff county is within a county, and then state trooper is within a state, and then a federal agent is now the whole country.
Yeah.
Okay, so one other thing that I've always wanted to know is sometimes we get pulled over a lot. I just need to know, like, whenever you get pulled over, what are the things that you can do and you cannot do? Because, we've seen people getting shot and stuff like that. What are the things that, or how should you react when a police officer pulls you over?
The best thing to do if you get pulled over, the first thing you need to do is look for a safe spot to park, because you don't want to park just in the middle of the road. Just find a good place where you can park and wait for the officer to approach you. And before the officer even approaches your vehicle, just roll down your windows. If it's in the summertime, just roll down your windows, because he's gonna come make contact with you. So there's no reason he has to walk all the way to your car then ask you to roll down your windows, because he needs to make contact with you. So if it's summertime and it's nice out, just roll down your windows.
Let's say you are speeding and a police officer pulls you over. Can you cry your way out of a ticket?
So that's the thing. So it depends, because officers, we have the powers to, once, let's say I made a traffic stop, right? For me, what I normally do, if someone is honest about whatever I pulled him over for, I can give them a break. But if someone is an asshole to me, I'll definitely give them a citation. Or if, let's say, they are drunk, then I'll continue make sure they're going to jail.
So you're saying that if someone, let's say, is being nice about it and they say they were sorry, you can let them go.
Yeah, I mean, we all speed, right? I do speed sometimes too. So if someone is honest about it and he has a valid reason to why they are speeding, yeah, you can give them a break.
On the internet, I have seen police officers get insulted by people that they have pulled over. For me, when I look at that, I'm scared to even talk back to a police officer. So I need to know, is it a crime to insult a police officer or say a curse word at a police officer?
I mean, dude, I get called names all the time. So, I mean, people in this country, people have freedom of speech. You can call an officer names, but it depends. I mean, for me, dude, you can call me names until tomorrow. I don't care. But there's some people that you'll call names and they'll lose it.
What I'm asking this is it something that you can do and get arrested for, or it's not a crime? Yeah, you can do it and then just go scot-free.
So it's not a good practice, especially if someone is in the middle of an investigation and you start, throwing words at them. A police officer, I'm referring to a police officer. Let's say they are conducting an investigation and you start, calling them names. That means you're interfering with the investigation. You can get jailed for that.
I have seen people get pulled over and they are hurling insults at this police officer, but at the same time, the police officer only gives them a ticket for what he pulled them over, not for hurling insults at them.
Yeah, it depends, like I told you. So everyone is different. So they can choose what to cite you for. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a crime. It's not a crime.
It's not a crime, but it's not at the same time, it's not a good thing to do. Yeah.
All right. So one other thing that I wanted to know is I just need to understand, like, let's say these different ranks. Let's say like in the army, in the police force, they have ranks, they have constables, they have... did you mind breaking us down so the ranks? Like for instance, who are involved in a police precinct?
Okay. So I'll say, like, for my agency, so our agency is so big. We are divided into 5 sections. So there's first precinct, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So for me, I work in one of those stations, right? So on top of the chain, we have the chief. So he oversees all these 5 stations, and then in every station there's an inspector. So he's in charge of the precinct, right? Then below the inspector there's lieutenants. So sometimes every shift we have 3 shifts, and there's mostly 2 lieutenants on every shift. Then below lieutenants there's sergeants, the supervisors. Then there's patrol officers. Yeah.
So a sergeant, like, let's say, has like his own team.
Yeah. So a sergeant has his team who are patrol officers. So he oversees patrol officers. Patrol officers report to the sergeant. Yeah.
And the sergeant reports to
the lieutenant.
Lieutenant reports to
the inspector.
And the inspector. Oh, so the chief inspector is the overall.
The inspector reports to the chief.
Oh, so we have inspector, and then we have the chief inspector.
No, he's called the chief.
He's called the chief. So, and the chief, you said, oversees 5 precincts.
Yeah.
Is there like someone above the chief?
No. For my agency, the chief is like
chief is the overall.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't mention if you've shot someone. You said that's a little private, but I still want to know. Have you arrested someone?
Arresting pretty much every other day.
Every other day?
Yeah.
Wow.
I work for a big city, so there's crimes pretty much every day. So I'm arresting people pretty much every other day.
Wow. And you're not telling us if you have shot someone. Have you ever been shot at?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, so there was something that happened in somewhere in Texas where there was a shootout and the police officers were called. I think it was like a high school. The police officers were called and it took them about like an hour to get in. I just want to know, as a police officer, are you sometimes scared to, let's say, rush into danger, or that's something that just kicks it, whatever there's a danger, it just kicks in and you have to run towards the danger?
I mean, I feel like from my experience is, we are trained to run into this kind of situation. So if, let's say, there's a shooting somewhere, as much as people are running away from this scene, we are trained to run into it. So it's just in our training.
So there's never been a case where a police officer is scared. Let's say there's like a criminal that has an AK-47 and you just have a pistol. You are scared, let's say, to go and pursue the criminal.
So it's not about being scared. If you don't have the right tools for the job, then you have to slow down, wait for other officers that have better tools to arrive, so that you guys can, deal with the threat the right way.
Okay. So there are rules or guidelines that tell you if you're in a place and you're the only one, you just have to wait for other officers.
Yeah, so every agency is different. I know there's some agencies that are, if there's a threat and you are the first one on scene, you have to respond to that threat, even if you don't have enough tools. But then some agencies, they are like, oh, you have to wait for the right tools to arrive so that you can respond to the threat. Yeah.
Okay, what happens when you are off duty? Can you arrest someone when you're off duty, or if you're witnessing a crime while you're off duty as a police officer, what do you do?
So for me, whenever I take off my uniform, I'm a civilian. I don't bring my police work at home. So if I see a crime being committed, I'll just do anything else that you can do. Just call 911. Yeah.
So are police officers allowed to carry okay, I know that in the US everyone's allowed to carry their guns together with them, but police officers do also carry their guns?
Me personally, I do bring my gun with me home every time. At the end of the shift, I always bring my gun home with me. And if let's say I'm off duty, I'm I'm doing my my things out there, I always bring my other gun with me always. Yeah.
So, as a police officer who has a gun and you are off duty, if you see a crime being committed, you can't jump into action as though you are, because you're a police officer.
I mean, I can jump into it, but then it depends with the risk. Let's say there's a crime being committed, and I'll make a phone call. I'll stay on scene, and then once the other officers respond, I'll ask them if they need my help. If they don't need my help, I'm good.
Okay, and what about, does every police officer wear bulletproof, or those are for special? I mean, do they wear bulletproofs?
So that's part of our uniform. For my agency, that's part of my uniform. I have to put it on all the time.
All the time. Okay, and I guess that sometimes helps you to jump into duty, or run towards danger when everyone else is running away from danger.
Yeah, I mean it's a good tool for sure, but then it's not like you are immune to these other dangers, because it only covers your stomach and chest area, so you are still prone to being shot, like the legs, the head and stuff. So as much as it's a bulletproof vest, you are not immune to getting injured.
I've actually had someone ask me before, and I didn't know how to answer to them. Why do they only make bulletproof vests, not bulletproof helmets or anything like that?
So there's bulletproof headgear, but those are normally heavy, and they are for people like SWAT when they are doing some very high. They are going to very high calls, but for the vests that we do have, because this area is I'll say has the vital organs, right? So if you protect this area, there's high chance of surviving. And being shot in the head, it's minimal, because most people aim for this area because it's wider and it's more mass. So if you protect this area, there's a high chance of you surviving. Yeah.
One other question that I want to ask is, let's say as a police officer, what is the one thing that you can do that can get you fired? And then one other question I want to ask is, let's say there's a criminal who is running away from you. Can you shoot at a criminal who is running away from you?
So there's so many things that can get you fired. This is one of those jobs that getting fired is just like that. Because, nowadays everyone has a smartphone, they're always recording. Every time I go to a call, there's people recording. If I'm parked somewhere, chilling, there's someone recording without my knowledge. So every time I'm at work, I put on that uniform, I try act professional, because I know someone might be somewhere recording me. So every time I'm in uniform, I try as much as I can and act professional.
So like I asked earlier, if you shoot at someone running away from you, is that a crime?
It depends with the crime that they have committed. Yeah.
So
you can go shoot someone from the back who's running for stealing candy, stealing cigarettes from a store. It depends.
So there's like a misdemeanor and there's a felony.
Yeah, there's levels to a crime. Yeah, so it depends. Like I told you, it depends with the crime. It depends if this guy is running away from you and you see he's for sure running to someone's house, and there's people in that house, then you might be forced to use some extra force. So it's everyone's judgment, man.
If you shoot someone, let's say, that didn't have a gun on them, or you saw something, because like I said, I've watched some movies and where I see a police officer pointing a gun to someone who they thought was pointing a gun, but later they found out it was something else, not a gun, and they got fired for that.
Yeah, it depends. So there's so much going on with police reforms, and yeah, it depends with the crime and with the agency. If you have good support from your local politicians and the people in your city, I think those people make a big impact on the judgment.
Do you love your job?
Man, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
If you are not a police officer, what will you be?
I'd love to be in the military. Yeah, cause man, growing up, I loved being in the military. I grew up looking up at my brother, who's a police officer. The army officers, Kenya Army, KDF, when they used to come to the village, you're like, man, these guys look good. Their uniform is good. They got these long guns, man. So that has always been my dream, either be a police officer or be in the army. Yeah.
I don't know if I asked you this, but one other question that I want to know is, you mentioned about smartphones, this era of smartphones, and police officers being recorded. When a police officer pulls you over, it's your right you can still take a phone and record them.
I'll tell people this, yeah. If you feel you need to record, go ahead and do it. Yeah. I don't mind being recorded because I'm recording too. So if you feel like you need to record for your safety, go ahead and do it.
Do you know any other Kenyan officer here?
There's one that I knew that was in Texas that he came on before I did, but we are not like super close. We actually went to the same high school, but he was way ahead of me. Yeah. So the first time I moved to this country, I was in touch with him. He told me, because I used to see him post pictures on social media, but then, like I told you, we are not super close. So I don't know if we're still doing police work or he quit.
So is this a type of job that you will advise, maybe let's say any other Kenyan that wants to be a police officer to do?
I mean, yeah, like I told you, it's a good job, but then it takes, it takes balls to do this job. So, I see a lot of people from my community going to nursing, and like nursing is a major thing. So, if you feel, cause, dude, I tried nursing and I felt like it wasn't my thing. So that's why I decided to do what I'm doing right now. If you feel like nursing is not your thing, because everyone is trying to be a nurse. If it's not your thing, just do whatever that makes you happy. You don't have to be a police officer, you don't have to be a nurse, you don't have to be, what else do Kenyans do? Track. Yeah, just do something that makes you happy, because I've seen people out here doing jobs that they don't like, and that really sucks. Yeah. So
a Kenyan in the US can be a police officer in the US?
Yes, you can be a police officer in the US, but you need to be a US citizen first, then have a college degree, then qualify. You have to be fit to be a police officer. Then there's so many other tests that they do on you. So yeah, a Kenyan can be a police officer in the US.
Okay. So one last question that I have for you is this. I've seen, let's say in terms of funerals and stuff like that, can you hire a police officer, or that's your job? Like whenever there's a funeral, sometimes like it's a motorcade, I've seen police officers come along and stop traffic so that the end can get. Is that something that you do, or you have to get hired to do that?
So you have to talk to someone within your local police department and see if they can make that judgment, if it's something that really needs police officers to come out and help, or if it's something that officers are willing just to come out and help. Otherwise, there's a gig that is called, it's off duty. So if you need like police officers to your event, you'll have to pay them. So it depends. So just talk to your local PD and they'll give you officers if you need.
If in terms, let's talk about a funeral. In terms of a funeral, do you pay for them to come and escort the body, let's say, from the funeral home to the graveyard?
So there's confusion. So there's some vehicles that you'll think they are police cars, but they are not police cars since they have lights. So those are some security companies that are hired to help with moving the deceased from their whatever house they are housed in to the cemetery. But then if there's like traffic and you guys are running late and you know it's an emergency, then you can ask for officers to come out and block traffic for you. Yeah.
And that's for free. They do that for free.
Yeah, it's for free as long as it's within their jurisdiction. Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much, my brother, for joining us. This has been an interesting learning session for most of us. And as you have noticed, it's actually possible for a Kenyan to become a police officer in the US. But just like you've heard from him, you must have a college degree. And also, what was the other requirement?
You have to be a US citizen.
Okay, so you have to be a US citizen and have a college degree for you to be a police officer in the US. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining, and please continue subscribing, and I'll see you in our next episode. Thank you.